Good morning, everyone. I'm Tamara Sacharczyk. It's Thursday, July 17th. This is an NBC 10 coffee break. Can't believe it's already Thursday. It's been a rough week so far with the news. We do have some updates on the biggest story that we've been covering this week, that fire at the assisted living facility in Fall River. We now know the name of the eighth person killed in the fire at the Gabriel House. 77-year-old Joseph Walensky was identified yesterday by authorities. The name of the ninth victim, a 70-year-old woman, still has not been released. So at this point, we're still waiting on that. Two people remain in critical condition, and we were told yesterday that those victims are at Rhode Island Hospital. Now, the owner of the South Coast Bocchio Funeral Homes, Tom James, says he's covering the funeral expenses for three of the victims. James is encouraging other families to reach out if they do need help with funeral services. This comes after an extremely emotional briefing from Fall River's fire chief. If you caught it on air yesterday at 1 p.m., Chief Jeffrey Bacon described some of the stories that he heard from his firefighters after that horrific night. Take a listen.
I'm seeing faces in windows. Sorry. And having to decide who they need to rescue. They go to the second floor on the west side of the building, make entrance where there's heavy black smoke and they can't see their hands in front of their faces. The officer begins to break into rooms and pull victims out. They're all non-ambulatory. His driver single-handedly lifts up each victim. Puts them on his shoulder.
So right there, he was talking about a firefighter who actually was not in uniform and just went into the fire and picked those non-ambulatory people up and took them out of the burning building. And non-ambulatory means that they need assistance moving. So these are people who could not walk out of that assisted living facility on their own. So really just speaking of the heroism that we saw that fateful day. Now, this is creating some changes for Fall River already, and it wouldn't be a surprise if this created changes throughout southern New England and perhaps the country. Fall River is now adding 3 additional firefighters to each shift to meet the minimum national standard. If you remember, Chief Bacon did say that that day they were not at the minimum national standard. The change comes after the city faced criticism for that over the fire union. So basically, at the time, they only had 2 of the city's 10 trucks at the staffing required by the national standards, and that is 4 people per truck. Now, because of this, they're bringing that up to the 4 people per truck for 6 trucks, so only 4 will have 3 firefighters on it. So it brings that staffing level up, which is what they say could have definitely helped that day. The extra staff will cost the city $1.5 million. We do want to get to the forecast now as well. Obviously, it's been a very hot and humid week out there. We have Jason Doris with us. And Jason, whenever it's hot like this and we see more red behind you, usually not the best sign.
Not the best sign, but I know you're thriving. You love this type of weather, Tammy, but maybe not all of us, as once again, for the 3rd day in a row, we have the heat advisory in effect for the entire region here. And that is for those feel-like temperatures or the heat index values by later on today between 93 and 100 degrees. The 100 degrees for those inland communities, a little bit closer to that 93 threshold for the South Shoreline, as we're going to have a little bit more of a breeze coming in off the ocean water. So the actual air temperature won't be quite as bad. But the big thing fueling all of this, it's just how high our dew points are in our humidity across the region. These dew points, mid to upper 70s in some spots. And actually, they've gone back a little bit. At one point this morning, we had a dew point of 79 degrees in Smithfield. And at that point, the air is so thick. There's so much moisture available. Joking around, you basically need a snorkel to be outside because of how much water content there is in the atmosphere. Now, again, the actual air temperature this morning, warm, but not terrible. We're in the low 80s widespread across the region. But when you factor in those dew points in the mid to upper 70s, we're already feeling like the 90s across a good portion of our area. 92 in Smithfield, Norwood, 95, 90 in Taunton, 90 in New Bedford. And again, a little bit cooler along the shoreline just because of that breeze that they do have in place. Now, these heat index values will continue to climb, like I just mentioned, probably approaching 100 degrees by later on today. Now, we've had a decent amount of clouds this morning, breaking out into a little bit of sunshine directly over Rhode Island, as we can see there, the white kind of depicting the cloud cover. Now, there will be some more clouds moving in because you can see right there, last couple of frames, there are a couple of showers just to our southwest right now as they move through, they're not really going to be packing too much of a punch, but you're going to have to dodge a couple of raindrops with some isolated to scattered activity, basically from about 11 o'clock or so all the way to maybe about 1, 2 in the afternoon. And then after that point, we're actually going to see those clouds disperse a little bit more. Our high temperature should be right around 5 o'clock tonight when we get back up into the upper 80s. And that's when it's going to be feeling the worst, where we could have the upper 90s for those heat index values and right along the shoreline again, just slightly lower there. Now, the good news is, as we go forward into tonight, we're going to have a cold front that's going to flush out all of this humidity. That should be arriving around midnight to 2 a.m. And that will lead to the crashing dew points tomorrow, falling all the way back down into low 50s. And relatively speaking, it is going to feel so cool, crisp, and refreshing just because of those dew points, even though the temperatures tomorrow should still be in the low to mid 80s. And it really should be a nice day overall with some sunny to partly cloudy skies. Just a little bit of a hint of some wildfire smoke, but I'm sure after this stretch of weather with all the humidity, we're really not going to care all that much about it. But we also got to talk a little bit, Tammy, coming up at noontime about our rain chances this weekend. A little bit of a split where we're going to have to deal with some rain on Sunday. So we'll break that down a little bit more with some of the latest information. But until then, we've got to continue to deal with this humidity for just a little bit longer.
All right, so stay cool if you can. And I mean, Jason, I think we all knew it was only a matter of time before the rain returned on a weekend,
yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
All right, we have more news stories to cover here. Friends of paranormal investigator Dan Rivera are honoring his memory after his sudden death while on tour. Rivera devoted his life to researching and sharing his knowledge of the paranormal. His friend Carl Johnson tells us he was mentored by Lorraine Warren. You may recognize that name. She's a paranormal investigator famously associated with The Conjuring before her death. Johnson credits him for strides in the paranormal industry by setting the bar for future investigations.
You can research, you can be an explorer of the paranormal, a seeker of the supernatural, without having airs about you, without wanting to be on a television show or wanting to be in the movies.
An exact cause of death for Rivera has not been released, but investigators say they believe it was natural. Now, he was the handler of the haunted doll Annabelle, the doll that people say was possessed by evil spirits. It's important to note that the coroner in Pennsylvania who's doing this investigation, that's Annabelle, the doll on your screen right there, the coroner did confirm that Annabelle was not in the hotel room where he was found dead, because that created a lot of online speculation. All right, now to this. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is considering changing TSA's liquid container policy. Current policy limits carry-on liquids in 3.4-ounce containers or smaller than that. Anything bigger, of course, must be put in checked bags. No specifics have been announced on what and when changes may be made, but we'll keep you posted as soon as we hear anything. Former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama are addressing divorce rumors. The Obamas spoke on the topic together on the podcast that Michelle does with her brother.
It's so nice to have you both in the same room together.
I know, because when we aren't, folks think we're divorced. There hasn't been one moment in our marriage where I thought about quitting my man.
All right, so Michelle Obama obviously indicating there that she is still fully in the marriage and hoping to put those divorce rumors to bed. The Obamas have been married since 1992. Speculation about the former first couple's marriage has run rampant online in recent months. Closer to home now, there's growing controversy just outside of Boston in the city of Newton. Hours before the city's popular Italian-American festival, a man was detained after police say he tried to spray paint over newly painted yellow lines on a major road. Now, this comes after weeks of agitation over the removal of the Italian flag once painted on that street. City leaders made the change, citing dozens of crashes in the area within the last 5 years, but locals aren't convinced.
After 90 years, you're going to start quoting safety? No, it's a beautiful tradition.
The data we got was bogus. It was fudged. We pointed out that it was fudged, and they keep on pivoting and changing their stories all the time. The head of the Mass Department of Transportation come out and said that this is not a safety issue.
All right, so you can see neighbors who live in Newton are clearly upset over this. They are fighting to get those lines back, so we'll have to see what happens in this case because it's an ongoing battle here. The neighborhood's requesting a new street safety study to see if the original Italian flag lines actually posed a safety concern. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. All right, well, that does it for us this morning. Thanks for joining us for our coffee break. News and weather updates are always available on our website. You already know, that's turnto10.com. You can also go ahead and download the NBC 10 News app to take us along with you wherever you are today. We'll be getting more updates, of course, on that Fall River assisted living facility fire. The fire chief, Chief Bacon, is speaking every day at 1 p.m. So anything that comes from that press conference, we, of course, will tell you about it. We also have countless news videos streaming on our YouTube channel. Just search NBC 10 WJR, and we'll be back on air if you're watching a traditional TV on NBC 10 News at noon. All right, stay cool out there, everyone. I know it's going to be difficult today, but try and find a cool space. You can stay safe, and we'll see you later. Have a great day.